Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Sunday night. It is time for the Sunday Night Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. I'm your host and your guide for the next 2 hours as we look at life through a biblical lens. We have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. The Pope's been to town. That'll give us enough stuff to talk about for about a week. We could do this every night this week and not run out of things to talk about. But there's a host of things. Before we do all of that, however, I wanted to alert you to a couple of things that I think might be important. I have finalized the introductory video for the Bible Institute of Charleston. I have a new banner that I have purchased, put behind me, and is about a 6.5 minute introduction. Tells you everything that you need to know. When the show is over this evening, I'm going to post that on the sermonaudio.com website. You know, we have a sermonaudio.com website, and they offer a video spot that is just for introducing the ministry, the things that you can find when you're at that place. And right now it's talking about the Bible Forum. But I'm going to switch that out for a couple of months, put that up there. It's stationary. It'll play every time you go. I'm also going to put it at the top of the rotation on the Bible Forum's website. You know, the little video screen that you're looking at now. Throughout the week, it runs what we've talked about here this Sunday. For these couple of hours. When the show is over, the first thing I do is to go in there and load all that up so that if you missed anything between 8 and 10, or if sometime on Thursday you don't have anything else to do, you can go back and you can watch the show or the segment that you want to watch, that sort of thing. And you do know that if you click the words Ustream there at the bottom, it will take you to a website that has all of this, going all the way back to July of last year. So you can pick the topic that you want, or you can pick the segment that you missed. We also have the Bible Institute website under production, and when it is launched, we will then take that introductory video and put it there in a screen on that one, so it will play every time you come. You get to see that, and like I say, it tells you how it's going to work, what it's going to cost, and just where we're going with it and why. You do know about the Tri-Biblical Counseling websites. You do know about the viewfromzoar.com. You do know about livinggodly.net. That has been neglected in the last several weeks. Not by choice, but by all the other things that have been colliding so that the show can keep moving and other things can happen. But we are working on all of these things simultaneously. We're doing it for you. And we want you to be a part of it. We'd like for you to help the Bible Forum, the Bible Institute, and all of the websites by going to the PayPal website. Click the PayPal button, and if you can see your way clear to share a little of God's bounty with us, we would appreciate that. $30 a month for at least a year. A commitment on your part will get you a t-shirt, a polo shirt. They're not a t-shirt, it's a polo shirt. I can't look at myself and find this patch, but it says the Bible Forum. You can get gray, you get black, all different sizes. Let me know. I also, let me grab it here real quick. I have also edited and produced my book. It used to be called That the Lame May Walk. It's now called Breaking Out. Breaking out. Be what God intended. Don't let the world define you. Don't let sin defeat you. It's a basic Christian how-to. It's not really for sale yet. This is the first copy that I paid for, sent, so that I would see just how it all worked, inside. And there were a lot of changes that had to be made. So I have set it up again and bought another copy I'll get that in another week or so and see what that's like. If that's like, I'll push the little button that makes it available to everybody, and you can go and get it. The price is $7.95, something like that. It's a little smaller. It's the same book. If you've bought the book that I had before, that the lame may walk, it was over 100 pages. This is 80 pages long, but it's exactly the same book, and it's the same size print. It's 12 pitch. That's large print. The difference is that I tightened up the spacing on the lines. I made that a little tighter, and actually I made the book a little smaller, but it cut out a lot of pages. I had put like a space and a half between each line because it's hard to read when you get old, and the more clouded and crowded the words, the harder. And I thought it might be helpful for everyone. But it really took up a lot of space, and it cost a lot of extra money. And when I talked to people, it really wasn't making that big a difference. But so that's that. We do have a number of things we're going to be talking about tonight. Again, you need to get the email. You need to send me your email address. I'll stick you on the email list, and every week you'll get one of these, and it will lay out what it is we're going to be talking about. It always, or at least recently, has been advertising the newest ministry called Rod and Staff. That's a ministry for pastors, 2 and 4 pastors. If your pastor's not getting that email, you need to send me his email, almost at his or hers, no one hers. Send me his email address, and I'll put him on the list. This week we're going to be talking about the New Apostolic Reformation, and I know some of you who have been around for a while, you know what that is. We've talked about that before, but it is taking over the world, and the head apostle has written an article. I don't know who he wrote this for. I picked it up off of NPR, the NPR radio, website, because apparently somebody has been talking about this ministry, this movement, and calling it a cult. And Porter, is it Porter Wagner? That's a singer, isn't it? Peter. It's a throwback to another world. Porter Wagner, Chuck Wagon Boys. Well, I don't remember what he did. But Peter Wagner is the head apostle over the New Apostolic Reformation, and he's not happy when folks refer to that ministry or that movement as a cult. And so I've written somewhat extensively on it in the past. I've just written another something or other. I think it's on the BibleForum.net website as one of the blogs. You can go and look at that. But we're going to talk about that so that we have a greater... You're going to find out that some of the ministries that are being pushed in your church or among Christian friends, people that you know and love, grew out of that ministry. And it's not a good thing. It's mystical, and it is counter-biblical. It's just having a whole bunch of ramifications. And it ties in with the events of this week, because we have Rick Warren, who is buddy-bud with the new Pope. In fact, today in Philadelphia, he was there speaking at their Mass. They had a big celebration there in Philadelphia, and Rick Warren was invited to come and speak at that. And he's one of the apostles, the New Apostolic Reformation apostle. And so we'll see how all that kind of ties together. I also have a blog that I wrote this week entitled, "What's the Difference Between a Christian and a Poser?" Do you know a real Christian from the Christian poser? And I think of this, have thought about this in concert with our political situation. We have about 25 people who are now running for nomination for their party to be president of the United States, and they're pretty much all Christians. Not Bernie. Bernie Sanders is not, but all the rest of them will tell you they're Christians. And it's very hard sometimes to tell one from another. They all have their testimony, their statement, and they're throwing rocks at the other guy. So I wrote about the difference between what is a true Christian and what is a poser, and how will you tell the difference? So we're going to talk about that before the night is out. I have I have an article here. When elected officials follow the road of popularity, bad things happen. And we're going to look at some of the things that have grown up around that. And then I mentioned this last week, but it just plagues me. It keeps coming back to haunt. Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders went to Liberty University and announced to the august body of students that America was founded as a racist nation. Yeah, I'm sorry to have to tell you that, but it's true. Well, it's not true. And so the question is, was it? Was it really founded as a racist nation? Bernie thinks so, but the founding fathers don't think so. Our Constitution doesn't think so. The various state constitutions don't think so. I mean, it flies in the face of historical reality. And it's just an amazing thing to me to watch so many politicians and others make these big, broad, generalized statements about our heritage, especially as it concerns religion and godliness and morality and all the rest of it, that are just 180 degrees out of phase with reality, and nobody calls them on it. You ever wonder about that? Why did we not hear something out of Liberty University? Or why did we not hear something from a number of different places of note saying, you know what, Bernie's wrong? Are we afraid? Are we afraid to stand up against this whole thing? I don't know. It just wonders me. And maybe it's because I'm old. I mean, I come from another generation. Actually, about 3 generations back. I come from the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. Those were my years. I turned 30 in 1974. So, I mean, coming up to that point, the world was a lot different. A lot different. And some of you know what I'm talking about. Today, we have about 2 or 3 generations removed from that time period, and they don't have a memory of that. All they know is what they've been taught about that. And they haven't been taught right. In the public schools, so kind of laughingly called public schools, they don't even want to teach American history that starts before 1865. They want to start with Reconstruction and move forward. Well, we don't have time to go back and to look at all of the other. I mean, there's a lot of history here, and we only got just so many hours. I say go back to the beginning, go back way before the United States. You have to go back into Greek and Roman history before you understand where we're coming from and how we got. But they don't want our children to have that foundation. They don't want them to have a sense of validity or importance or strength or power. They don't want us as a society moving forward to feel like we're special in any way. And yet everybody in the world who comes to this country does it because it's special. And even when people come and they talk about our country, they talk about it as a very special place. America is the country of the world to either emulate, immigrate to, or try to destroy. And all for the same reason, because it is very special. The Pope said that when the Pope was here this past week, and we are going to talk about that. Did you notice as the Pope was here, there were a lot of things that went on. He spoke before a joint session of Congress. No Pope's ever done that before. He also spoke before the United Nations. Been a long time, I think, since somebody did that. more representatives, people from more nations of the world were present when this Pope spoke than at any other time in the history of the United Nations. Did you know that? He spoke at the 911 memorial. He had things to say each time he celebrated a Mass, and he seemed to have celebrated a Mass everywhere he went. He paraded up and down the streets, the throngs. I mean, there were just tens of thousands of people who gathered any place he might have been, and they weren't always sure where that was going to be. But one of the things that he did at every stop, actually two things that he seemed to do at every stop. One was to pray, and the other was to celebrate a Mass. Did you notice the one thing he never did do? He never did. The pastor to almost 1 billion people in the world. And he never did the one thing that the New Testament teaches us is the power of God. He never preached the gospel. Never. In fact, he never preached. Everywhere he went, a little homily. You know what a homily is? Homily comes from the word homiletics. Homiletics is the study of how you put together a message. In Bible college seminary, you take a course in homiletics. How to craft your message. When I was in Bible college, of course, they were teaching us how to preach in our homiletics class. They don't teach that in Catholic seminaries. Catholic priests don't preach. Do you know why? Now, if you've been with me for any length of time, you know exactly why, and you know what I'm about to do. I'm about to demonstrate to you what preaching is. Preaching is taking a message and doing that. You like that? Nobody likes that. Don't point that finger at me. That's preaching. Preaching is propositional. You lay out the principles, the concept, the information, but it doesn't just go out and lay there. It is being presented as a proposition, a proposal to you, the listener. It's proposing a response. People preach the gospel. They're not preachy when they do it. They're not, you got it, yeah. But they are presenting a message that requires a response, and they do it in a way to highlight that reality. What is the gospel? The Pope didn't tell anybody what the gospel was, but the gospel is a message from God that describes who and what we are as human beings, sinful creatures, hearts desperately wicked, deceitful above all things. A message that says, in that condition, and you were born that way. You didn't get to be that. You were shapen in iniquity. That's a person who cannot be in the presence of God even for a second. He is that holy. But Jesus came. God the Father sent His only begotten Son, God the Son, who was made like a man in the fashion of a human man and lived a sinless life, and then gave up that life, taking on the sin of the world, enduring that awful penalty on a cross. not just the beating and the deprivation and the nailing to a wooden cross, dropping it in a hole, hanging up there for 6 hours, and the agony, the physical agony, but the 3 dark hours when God himself laid the sin of the world on his own son. He bore the sin there, then, at that time. And then he gave up the ghost. Was buried, and 3 days later he was raised from the dead. Newness of life, a working picture. And the gospel says, you're that sinner. He died for your sin. He rose again that you might have life. You need to repent of your sin, the sin of unbelief. And you must believe on the Lord Jesus Christ if you want to be saved. That's preaching. Pope doesn't do that. The priests don't do that. The cardinals, nobody does that in the Catholic Church. They celebrate a Mass. What's that? We're going to talk about that as the night unfolds. I want you to stay with me. I want you to invite your friends. If you know some people that aren't watching, paying attention, you need to call them up and tell them this is what's going on here every Sunday night from 8 until 10 p.m. Send them an email. Send me their email. I'll send them a note every week that explains this so that they can be a part of it just like you. But for now, I have to save this little excerpt so we can move on to the next one and file that away. So stay with me. We'll be right back. We've got a lot more to talk about.